It's not a book review, it's a book talk. What's up, guys? My name is Caitlin Moose if you're new to this channel, and I am talking today about a book I just finished called Sick in the Head by Judd Apatow. Look at that emoji with a head on fire. I found out so many cool things. He was actually Adam Sandler's roommate at one point when they were back in the day when they were doing stand-up together in LA, and I just think that's so crazy. All right, I just pulled up his IMDb. So he's responsible for a ton of comedies, including Anchorman, 40-Year-Old Virgin, Talladega Nights, Knocked Up. He also directed Superbad, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, Pineapple Express, Year One, Funny People, Get Him to the Greek, Bridesmaids, This Is 40. Ton of comedies that he helped write, direct, and produce over the years. Judd Apatow also responsible for the show Freaks and Geeks, which I'm making my parents watch right now with me. It's on Netflix if you want to check it out. It's only 18 episodes long. It was canceled. It's not just in-your-face comedy, hard-hitting. It's about real life, real situations, kind of finding that truth in comedy, and real people dealing with real things is more of the baseline for that. But the amazing thing about Freaks and Geeks is all the people that came out of it. That's James Franco, Seth Rogen, Jason Segel, and just so many great people. Him working with Ben Stiller and with the Ben Stiller show, and just all this craziness. I guess for me to go back and see where people connect the dots is kind of fun. Also, Judd just saying that he's kind of like a mentor in a lot of those relationships now and bringing people up in the comedy world, where he felt like in high school he was mentored by a lot of comedians because he got his start interviewing comedians for a high school radio show. So this is his book, Sick in the Head. It says Conversations About Life and Comedy. And yes, I wish I had taken that to heart more, because I don't know what I thought I was getting into with this book, but it is literally a transcription of a bunch of interviews he's done over the years. Literally every chapter is an interview with a new comedian, and it's just a transcript of that. So it's not like, oh, I'm reading a book about, and it's a bio. It is a conversation about life and comedy. Not necessarily all of it being funny, but so many amazing comedians talking about their early work, who inspired them. I was always very surprised by the critical analysis of their upbringing playing a part in their comedy and future careers, and also their style of comedy. Yeah, I don't know. It just kind of made me realize, I was like, maybe I haven't analyzed what I really like about comedy. So it kind of made me sit there and think, who do I like, or who would influence me? You guys know that I already made a video about Robin Williams. He was my all-time favorite comedian, actor, everything. I just looked up to him so much. So then I was kind of trying to figure out why. And I think I loved, one, so fast-paced, so smart, but just so many different impressions up his sleeve, and then things he's making up and accents, but everything makes sense and is connected, and it's so fast. I loved that about him, and his ability to do that was showcased in so many of his movie roles. Like when you look at Mrs. Doubtfire and he does all the voices and impressions. When you look at Good Morning Vietnam and he's doing that over the radio show. When, of course, Aladdin. So all of these roles, he was able to incorporate that tremendous talent of improvisation and character work into it. And to be honest, I know that when I was really little, my dad would do a lot of impressions. And I don't think I could get him to do any now, but maybe when we were little, he wasn't so embarrassed if they were terrible because we couldn't tell. Maybe I kind of enjoyed the character developments and voice affectations from him. I have friends now that tell me I start talking in different voices or make random sounds. So I don't know if maybe that's a continuation of that. But another thing that I really like from comedy is music. I was thinking about who do I like? Who do I like? First off, I have not watched much stand-up. I know a lot of people have their favorite stand-up comedians, or they memorize SNL sketches, and that was never my thing. And I'm like, oh gosh, I'm not worthy. I don't have this studied thing where I can say who I like and what their work was and memorize this thing they did. But what I do a lot of is I quote funny movies. I love funny movies, especially anything like Ben Stiller, Will Ferrell, those kinds of things. And I can quote those movies all day long. So I think it was just realizing hey, no, Caitlin, you have been doing this thing your whole life that annoys people. My mom. I definitely love funny movies, and then that led me to music, especially like Adam Sandler and his really stupid songs that they're not good songs. They're just like stupid songs. And Lonely Island, like Andy Samberg doing the same thing with his songs are better, but they're more produced, but still just a stupid song. And parodies like Weird Al. I've done some of my own parodies, even on this channel. A ton of them I haven't recorded or anything. That's definitely something I've been doing since at least elementary school, taking a song and changing the words so that it fits some other kind of funny situation, but it like has the same rhyme scheme as the original song. So that's how I do my parodies. But yeah, I was like, oh, so you do some of the musical stupid thing. And then when I was in improv, I remember having a really great discussion with a guy in my college improv troupe. It was like a moment of clarity for me because he said, you really like characters. He's like, I wish I could do characters like you. You just like fully commit and go there and you stay in a character, and I don't. And I was like, oh, but you have such good like one-liners and jokes and puns and this kind of zingy wit that I don't. You're able to find the game of the scene, and I'm just like all storyline. Something like that, but to find out that, okay, so I do like those characters and that thing. I don't know, it's just kind of cool that the book really, really made me want to reflect on that. One interview or notion that really stuck out for me from the book was his interview with Jimmy Fallon. He talked to so many of these different comedians, and he himself is constantly saying, I got into comedy because my parents got divorced and I wanted to be a people pleaser, make them happy. So many of the comedians in the book, being a child of divorce, so many people he's talked to, that having a big impact on their decision to become a comedian. And Judd especially said that he felt so different as a kid, and what's the point of all of this in life, and just kind of bitter. He says a lot of comedians get that like bitter, so they get really angry, and that's what makes their comedy so funny, is they have this huge point of view and they're just like mad at the world and going at it. And basically just that a lot of comedians are miserable and kind of lead this life of pain. And I don't know, I think something that, again, with Robin Williams, we discover that it doesn't matter how you look on the outside to other people and you're making everyone else happy, how is it affecting your inside? And same with like John Belushi. Anytime we see an overdose or a suicide, understanding that while someone can be really funny and therefore appear really happy, it's not that way necessarily psychologically. But so he's saying he comes from this background and comedians are miserable and ha ha ha. His interview with Jimmy Fallon, he's like, the thing I love about you, Jimmy, is just that you love life and you're so happy and yet you're still really funny. Oh, Jimmy's another one who does like musical acts, and I think it's great. Because I almost think sometimes in the comedy community that if you're not miserable, if you're not suffering for your art, you're doing it wrong somehow, or there's a sense of entitlement, like, oh, well, I feel these things or whatever, so I'm better than you. And that's kind of like the artist community in general, not just comedy. But Elizabeth Gilbert actually talks a great deal about that in her book, Big Magic, where she's talking about creativity and how you shouldn't need to suffer, like be in anguish while you're creating this thing. It's allowed to be fun. And so that's another great book to check out if you want to look into that. But this idea that we don't have to suffer for our art, it doesn't have to be this heavy thing that otherwise it's not enlightened enough to be good. You can have fun with it. And I love that so much. And Jimmy Fallon said, he's like, yeah, I'm the happiest. This is the best job in the world. You do all these crazy fun things, and you can just see it out of his face. Oh, and back to the music. Another one is Steve Martin, who I actually got to see on tour a few years ago playing the banjo. And I was just so amazed that, one, he's so funny, and two, he's so musically talented as well. I mean, this guy is just all around amazingly talented. And in his interview, he's the last interview in the book, and he talks about he's played the banjo for over 50 years. He actually started out in magic. I've read his Born Standing Up memoir also. And he started out in magic and then kind of gradually changed his act into more of a stand-up thing. Yeah, so it's just a really fascinating talk with him and with so many of the other comedians, especially kind of, I don't know, this obviously interests me in hearing the business side of filmmaking and hearing how these huge directors and producers being so terrified of the studios and the test audience and how the reaction is going to be and how the payoff is so delayed. Like in stand-up, it's immediate. They're laughing or they're not laughing. And for a movie, you have to take years a lot of times before the thing finally comes out and is finished and you hear the audience reaction. The book kind of humanized them in a way that it's not just this far off thing that only they could be doing, but that they have the same kind of fears and doubts just like the rest of us, but how they're able to continue through that anyways and keep the work going and fresh and creative and true to themselves. I got this book from the library, like I showed you guys yesterday. I'm all library all the time. But this might be a book that I'd be interested in getting just because since each chapter is a different comedian, a different conversation, I think it'd be really good to just pick up every once in a while and read just one. There are so many good little tidbits about life and pursuing your dreams, whether that's comedy or not. And so yeah, really great takeaways from Sick in the Head. I highly recommend this one. I would love to know in the comment section, who is your favorite comedian and why? What kind of comedy do you like? Thanks so much for watching as always, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye!